What's up, y'all? We are going to go over a quick little mobility flow that takes about 10 minutes, but I have sped up the video times 1.2 speed to kind of help get us through this a little bit. So what we're going to start with is a down dog to an up dog stretch just to kind of get us warmed up a little bit. Now, one thing that I do want you to focus on is when you go into that down dog, so kind of into that push-up position, we want to exhale through that and then inhale when you come up through that up dog position. That's going to be the most effective for your breath timing and what the stretch is trying to get us to do. So you're going to go through this movement 3 to 5 times just to work on opening up our posterior chain and anterior chain and getting our body warmed up for the rest of the movements that we're going to do. Then we are going to step into this low lunge position, and we're going to do the world's greatest stretch. So your goal is to try to get your elbow down to the floor on the inside of your foot, and then you're going to twist and reach up. This mobility flow specifically is going to focus a lot more on rotation through our entire body. So rotation, this one is working on rotation through our thoracic spine. It's helping to kind of, open us up in our chest, but then we're also getting a little bit of rotation in our low back and our hips as well to help open up the hips. Then we're going to give our wrists a little bit of a break and go into a playful puppy to help kind of open up the thoracic spine a little bit, help stretch out our lat muscles, and just breathe. So you're going to be here for 3 to 5 breaths, whatever feels good for you, to just kind of give your wrists a little bit of a break before we move into the next movement. So our next movement, we're going to get into a tabletop or quadruped position, and then we're just going to work on opening up through our thoracic spine. Again, this whole mobility flow is going to focus on rotation. So again, here you can do 3 to 5 movements to kind of get you warmed up a little bit. And then we're going to switch sides and do the exact same thing on the other side. Just focus on breathing in and out of your nose, nice and steady, inhales and exhales. This should not be forced movement. It shouldn't be super hard. We just want to kind of work on opening up through our spine, and this should be somewhat relaxing. Now we're going to take this movement to the next step, and we're going to do a thread the needle movement. So with that same arm, it's a very similar movement. We're just now going to be rotating in the opposite direction. So we're going to reach under our opposite arm to get a counter stretch of that rotation, and then come back up like we did before with the thoracic rotation. Again, 3 to 5 movements on each side. And again, really just focusing on making sure that our breathing is nice and steady. We're inhaling and exhaling through our nose only to help work on that nasal breathing. And again, should be very relaxing stretching and mobility flow that we're doing here. We've done a lot with the upper body and the thoracic spine, so we're going to move to lower body a little bit. This is one of my favorite stretches for the hips. This is the hip 90-90 stretch. So you want to start with your feet kind of at hip width apart and knees at a slight angle and feet flat on the ground. And then you're just going to rotate back and forth where you can see my hips are in a 90-90 degrees. They're both at a right angle when I'm rotating. You want to lead with your chest too when you're leading over that top leg. Lead with your chest. We don't want to be slumping over. That'll help give us a better stretch through our hips. And you should feel that really nice deep stretch in the back of your hip. Now we're going to go into some pec stretches. So we're going to start with a book opener. So you're going to be in a sideline position. You want to try to keep those knees stacked on each other as much as possible. Hips and knees are in a 90-90 position. So we want to think about our knees being at a right angle. And again, keep that top leg stacked nicely on the other one. You can place your opposite hand on your top knee just to make sure that it just stays on top of the bottom knee. And we're going to work through some windmills here to help open up our shoulder and our pec muscles. Again, all very relaxing movements. This shouldn't be something that you're really pushing or struggling to breathe or holding your breath. just work through whatever available range of motion you have. I like to really start with a book opener, a few book opener exercises or stretches before going into the windmill to just open up through that chest. And now when we go through that windmill movement, we're a little bit more warmed up for this movement. Again, both sides, 3 to 5 reps on each side, whatever you feel like is going to help open you up and loosen up your muscles the most with this movement. Thinking about breathing in and out through our nose, and this should be very relaxing for us. Now we're going to flip over onto our belly, and we're going to do another one of my favorite stretches. This is the scorpion. This can be a little bit difficult for a lot of people, especially if you've never really done this before. But the goal is to keep that opposite arm and chest. So right now I'm going to be kicking with my left leg to reach my right hand, and I want to keep that right arm and shoulder on the ground the whole time. Again, opening up through that chest really nicely, and you're going to feel a nice rotational stretch in your low back and even in your thoracic spine. You might even feel this down the front of your thigh and in your hip flexors. This is just a really great way to get that diagonal fascial line that's running through the front of our body. Now we're going to kind of start getting into more of just like the longer holds or static holds versus the dynamic mobility that we've been doing. So we're going to settle down toward the end of our mobility flow into a seated pretzel. Now you can start by just hugging your knee, and if you feel like that's enough of a stretch for you, that's great. But if you feel like you want more of a stretch, then you can put the outside of your elbow on the outside of your knee like I'm doing here and get a little bit more of a stretch through the back of your shoulder, and this will help you get a lot of a deeper rotational stretch through your thoracic spine as well. So again, you can start by just hugging that knee. Make sure to keep your posture nice and upright. Keep a nice straight back as you're doing this. Think about keeping your chest up, chin held high. And both sides we're going to hold for 3 to 5 breaths. And again, this shouldn't be something that you're breath holding or shaking or really forcing. This should be fairly easy, fairly relaxing for you. Then we're just going to go back into a downward dog, upward dog. And you can do this as many times as you like. At the end, just hit a child's pose.